The Law Firm of Your Dreams with John Fisher, episode 331. Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Well, hello and welcome to a live broadcast of the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel. I'm excited to be doing this. We're broadcasting this interview live on Facebook, and I have an awesome guest today, and I'm excited to bring him on and share him with you. This format of doing an interview live on Facebook, broadcasting it out, is something that we plan to do moving forward. Maybe not every interview, but a lot of them we'd like to bring to you in this manner as well. So let us know, give us some feedback, let us know if this worked for you. If you're listening to this on your podcast player the way you would, you don't have to do anything different. You don't have to go to Facebook. We're still going to bring the content to you the same way. However, you might be listening to this maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks after it's recorded. No worries there. We're happy to have you listening to our show. So our guest today is John Fisher. And let me pull up his bio because I won't do him justice just on my own. But John and I got to meet in person a few times. He actually hosted a one-day mastermind event in New York City, which I did not attend, but I was attending Craig Goldenfarb's event the day before, and John came that day, and he was hosting a dinner for the people who were attending his event the next day, and graciously invited me to join that dinner. I was honored to be there, honored to be in the presence of so many of you amazing law firm owners, and it was a great experience, and getting to meet John. I actually got to meet his wife and his son, who's now in North Carolina. Is he in college? No, he got a job down there, I think. We'll double check with John in a moment. But some really exciting stuff going on in his life. He's gotten to that point where he's getting the kids out of the house, which is bittersweet, I presume. I have kids in the same age bracket, but I also have little ones, so I'm in for the long haul. So John is the owner and founder of John H. Fisher PC, where he limits his practice to catastrophic injury law for injury victims. John's the author of the best-selling book, The Power of a System, the first of its kind book with explicit how-to steps for the technical, managerial, and entrepreneurial implementation of a multi-million-dollar personal injury law firm. He's also the author of The Law Firm of Your Dreams. Now, for those of you who don't know, we have a book club here at Profit with Law. It's free to join, and our book club just finished reading The Law Firm of Your Dreams by John Fisher. It's quite a book, and it took them, I believe, 3 months to get through that book, but we are at the tail end of it, and as a treat to our book club, following this live broadcast, we're going to actually have a live Q&A around 11:45 Eastern in the book club Facebook group. If you're not a member and you want to join us for that live Q&A today, make sure to go to profitwithlaw.com/book club, profitwithlaw.com/book club. Maybe somebody on my team can go put that URL into the comments for you. So John believes in sharing and collaborating with other top plaintiffs, lawyers, and hanging out with lawyers who are doing things bigger, better, and faster. John's the founder of the Mastermind Experience. You can get there at mastermindexperience.com, a unique mastermind group where elite lawyers collaborate and share their best practices and challenge each other and to take action and create a law practice that serves their ideal lifestyle. John lives in Ravenna, New York with his wife, Honorary Lisa M. Fisher. She's a judge, 3 children, Tim, Alec, and Lily, and their 4th child, Patch, the cutest dog on Facebook, a miniature Australian Labradoodle. John loves Notre Dame and the Chicago Bears, and whenever he can, he enjoys slalom and barefoot water skiing. So without further ado, I'm going to bring John on the show. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Moshe. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to having some fun.
Awesome. It's really a pleasure to have you here. And thank you so much for the graciousness of your time. But having read your bio, Chicago Bears fan, this is football week. Are we excited?
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. So have some fun and not I expectations are not that high this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, some people are thinking that maybe the Bears have what it takes this year now that Mitch Trubisky has moved on and they're ready to start fresh with a new quarterback and see what they can do with that. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in the first few weeks of the season.
Absolutely.
All right. So I always like to start with an easy question, which is there are people who are watching this interview, listening to this show, that don't know who John Fisher is. They never read your book. They didn't even know you were an author, never heard of you. So for those people who absolutely have no idea who you are, give us the broad strokes of maybe not how you got into law. I think if we go too far back, we miss the good stuff. But I mean, you wrote a couple of books. You have this mastermind experience. Tell us about what got you into helping other lawyers on their journey.
June 2nd, 2010, I'm working for the law firm where I've worked basically my whole career. And it's a prominent catastrophic injury law firm in Albany, New York. I'm called into a partners meeting. Something just felt different about it. And so something weird was going on. And so I walk into the meeting, and it's the two senior partners are sitting at this big oak table. And after some chit chat, one of the partners says to me, "John, it's time we part ways." And I think, oh, I didn't see that one coming. What am I going to do now? And I've got a wife and three little kids at home who I have to support. I've got no idea what I'm going to do. So I've never been taught anything about how to run a business or how to get clients or anything like that, because I had just been a guy who was a non-equity partner in a law firm who tried cases. And I really loved what I did, but now I'm showing the door, I'm on my own. So what do I do? So I go to a beach and I handwrite every single policy that a law firm either should have or, and I put the best stuff in my mind in on paper. I kept writing and writing. And then it was marketing, it was management, it was everything. And I just kept writing. And I didn't stop for about 2.5 years. And I put it all together and I put it in a book called The Power of a System. And then when I'd meet with friends and I'd say, "Hey, I've got this book about how to manage and market a law firm," they looked at me like I had three heads. Like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why would you give away everything that you know? And my response was, because no one else is. And so I wrote that book, not just for other lawyers, but because I wanted a game plan for how to run a law firm for the people who worked for me. I wanted them to know everything: how to open the mail, how to deal with emotion, the whole thing, how to file a complaint in federal court, the whole thing. So everything that we did, the nuts and bolts, documenting the core processes of your law firm is the most important thing that you will ever do for as a law firm owner. Because if the people leave your law firm, you might say, "Well, I don't need policies. I don't need systems because everyone knows what to do. We have phenomenal employees." But Moshe, what if your team leaves? If they take off on you, then you're bringing a whole new team and they have no idea what to do. So when you have written core processes that are documented and you share them with other people, and I'm going to share with you and your audience today the core processes that we have, because we document them not only in a book, but a website that's called fisherpedia.com. And that website is not just where I add policies and systems, but every team member that we work with. And you might say, "Moshe, well, what goes into this?" Well, how to unlock the front door, how to turn on the phones, how to do a three-way conference call with the judge, everything that you can think of. And your team knows these policies and systems better than you do. So have them document it, add it to your website, and start building one policy onto the next, because your goal is to become the next McDonald's. The McDonald's of law firms where every single aspect of your law firm is documented. So you bring in a new employee, you've already sent them 10 onboarding videos explaining the of preparing a discovery response interrogatory. In New York, it's called a bill of particulars. You have all that stuff. And so when they come to your firm or when clients call you, they already know what your core processes are. They know what your values are because you've already shared it with them through your onboarding process. So I would say the number one thing, Moshe, that I've done and that I've learned through trial and error and tons of mistakes is documenting the core processes and systems of your law firm. It is so essential.
Awesome. I love that, John. And we don't place enough emphasis on this as business owners because we're always run, 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 get the next thing, do the next thing. I got to get the next client. I got to serve the next client. I sign them on. I got to do. And taking a step back and creating these systems and processes seems like something that's going to slow us down. That's going to be a nuisance rather than a help. And one of the things that I share with my clients is you don't have to be the one to write them. Bring in a virtual assistant, bring in somebody who is simply going to follow your instructions, but as they do that, have them document it. And this way it's not on you to try to figure this out. One of the hardest things when you're getting started is to understand the value of your time and to put that time in the right places, which really leads me to a question that I have for you. I wanted to dig deep into your past, right? And if you can talk to the old John when you were first starting out, what were some of the biggest mistakes that you made in growing your law firm that if you could do it over again, you'd be like, I would do that differently now that I know what I know?
Well, number one, the reality is I worked for other people. I made other people rich, and it was all good because I learned from it. But looking back, I would have started my own law firm about 10 years earlier than I did. That was a big mistake. The last year I worked for a law firm, I made 435,000, and the firm made $5.5 million of legal fees from me. So the ratio of the money that I was bringing to the firm compared to what I got didn't make any sense. So I would have gone out, but it takes courage and it takes a lot of guts to open your own shop because then you're not going to have a steady paycheck. But I would have done that sooner. My 3 tips of advice is number one, become a specialist, become an expert in an area of law that differentiates you from everyone else. So for example, I do medical malpractice, but really I market myself as a birth injury lawyer. And so when people have a birth injury case, whether it's in Brooklyn, Alabama, or wherever, they're going to think of me. Oh, John Fisher, let's bring him into a case in Alabama or Arkansas or anywhere. And that's a cool thing to have. So become a specialist is really important. Number 2, delegate everything you possibly can. And I'm so guilty of this even now. A lot of times, if I don't see something that's being done correctly, I'm going to own it and I'm going to take over responsibility for it. And even if it's doing paralegal work, I don't care because as the owner of the business, you have to take responsibility for everything. And I know that runs contrary to my advice, but delegate everything you possibly can. Hire amazing people, overpay them, and delegate everything. So for example, Moshe, I don't look at email throughout the course of the day. It's not something that I do. I have a paralegal who scans the email. If there's a letter, if there's an email from the judge or defense counsel that's really urgent, she'll notify me, we'll deal with it. But for about 95% of all email gets responded by one of our paralegals. So I'm not involved in that, including mail. They'll scan the mail, they'll look at the mail. We have a paperless office. We've been paperless for over 20 years. And essentially, I'm trying to take myself out of doing the stuff that I don't like and focusing on the things that I love doing. So delegate almost everything that you possibly can. That's number 2. Number 3, become an expert in marketing. Master business development. Go and hang out with people like Moshe and learn from them, learn from experts in marketing, and become an expert, because I can share with you, it pays off. If you dedicate more than 50% of your time towards business development, I can guarantee you, you are on a path to tremendous success. But if you're in the weeds doing all the grunt work every single day, you're never going to get out of those weeds. You've got to rise above that and immersing yourself and becoming an expert in marketing, because I know it's so antithetical to what we're taught in law school, which is you're there to do the work. You're there to do depositions, trials. But what you're really there to do is run a business. And a business is about profit and making money. And so in that vein, what you want to do is study everything like profit first. You want to go to all these marketing events. The best investment you will ever make is in yourself and your own personal development, and become obsessed with marketing and master it. And so the mastermind experience, what that is, Moshe, is we just collaborate. We're meeting on Friday in Washington, D.C. We bring in some of the best lawyers from across the country. We table shoot all of the problems, the issues that each firm is having, and we arrive at some solutions. And so it's not a seminar, it's a workshop, and we really work hard. And what's the value, Moshe, to the lawyers or to me, is that I'm leveraging the knowledge and success of high achievers who know things that I don't know and are doing things like Seth Price in DC. He has like a 50 attorney law firm. He has a digital marketing company. I don't know anything really about digital marketing, but because I learned from Seth and he shares everything he knows, and every day he's texting me, emailing me, calling me, I'm leveraging the knowledge and wisdom of others. And Moshe, that is so rare in the practice of law.
Yeah, John, I really love these top three tips that you shared, and I want to go back on a couple of the things that you mentioned, and maybe we breezed through them, and I want to dive into them specifically. So one thing that you shared is you should delegate as much as possible, but at the same time, you need to take responsibility as the business owner and make sure that everything is getting done right. And you said, yeah, I know this sounds like a bit of a contradiction, but, and I want to dive into that but a little bit more so that our listeners and viewers have clarity around what that looks like. Because what happens is people have a tendency to try to delegate. It's very hard for them because they're letting go of something and allowing somebody else to do it. And the moment that they do it wrong or they're not doing it the way they want, they'll grab it back and say, "Oh, I'm going to just take this back because you didn't do it well." And the reality is that with a little bit of feedback, you can probably get somebody to do it right the next time. So how does a business owner navigate? When is the time that I actually need to say, 1 second, I need to take ownership of this because it is completely not getting done, versus here's an opportunity for me to help my team grow and become better at doing what I'm delegating to them.
Well, your name is on the door. So if something's not getting done the right way, you've got to own it. You've got to take responsibility. You can't blame other people for what happens. And so if something's not done correctly, you have got to be involved. And I know that runs contrary, but the reality is, Moshe, other attorneys will say to me, "Oh, I don't even meet with clients if they have a $5 million or a $7 million case." I'm like, "Man, I'd be out the door that second. Are you kidding me?" Because frankly, that's what I love to do. And that's a difference in mindset. So for example, I love to interact with clients. I love to be in their living room. And many attorneys don't like that. They want to be the CEO that are sort of just overseeing everything. Nothing wrong with that either. Everyone's different. There's no right or wrong answer. It really depends on where is your passion. Do you like to be in a courtroom? Do you like handling depositions, meeting with clients? Because if you love those things, then being a CEO might not be the best thing for you. You have to decide, do you want to be the person who's in the field doing the work, managing the law firm, or the CEO who's overseeing everything? And once you know what you love to do, that's where you focus. But Moshe, I think for me, if I see something that's affecting our firm that's not done correctly, I'm going to jump in. And I'm not just going to watch and let things flounder. I'm going to take responsibility. As a small law firm owner, that's what we need to do. So it's kind of a case by case, and you've got to assess what's serious and what's not, what's a small mistake and what's not. But I think that if I'm going to work till 7 or 8 o'clock, I'm going to stay there till midnight if I have to get something right.
Yeah, it sounds to me like the differentiation you're making is if it affects the client, if it affects the output of my firm, if it affects tarnishing our brand, I'm not going to delegate at the expense of somebody not receiving what I promised them. And that, so that's important to keep a pulse on. And this has come up recently in some of my own coaching calls with my clients, where somebody, delegated a bunch to another attorney and didn't stay on top of the work the attorney was doing, and slowly started to get feedback from clients. Hey, the ball's being dropped. I don't feel like I'm being taken care of. And, we came back around to this idea that you need to have like a regular meeting, whether it's daily or weekly, with that other attorney to go through all the open cases and just, hey, give me a summary. Where are we up to? Where are we up to? So this way you keep your finger on the pulse. You're not saying, hey, this is not working, I'm going to fire that attorney and I'm not going to continue. But you have a conversation with that, with that employee, whether it's an attorney or a paralegal or another support staff. You have a conversation around what the issues are, but you also implement things to make sure that this doesn't continue to happen. And if necessary, to take ownership temporarily or permanently, if it's really that bad, to make sure that you make those clients whole, to make sure that those clients are getting what they need, that dates are not being missed, deadlines are not being missed, and things like that. So that's really, really helpful. Now, I want to jump into the marketing discussion, because the third thing that you mentioned was get really good at marketing. And I don't think that you meant that an attorney should become really good at figuring out SEO on their website, right? I don't think that's what you meant by marketing. Like, I don't think you meant become a really good digital marketer. I think you meant become really good at relationship building and going out there and spreading the word around your brand. So I want to ask you for clarification on what exactly you meant by getting good at marketing, and how does that translate to somebody who's listening or watching this, whether they're a solo or whether they have multiple attorneys working for them. Everyone is navigating this business development side of it. We always need more clients, right? And what is the thing that they should really get good at, and what are some things that maybe they should delegate in the marketing arena?
They should get good at all of it. I mean, there's no aspect of marketing that they should be. They should, when it comes to marketing, that's the most important thing you do is business development. And so when it comes to digital marketing, if you say, well, I don't know anything about that, well, then learn it. Figure it out. Spend an hour a week learning this. The best thing you can do is set aside a block of 2 hours every week where you're dedicated strictly to business development, and ideally with a marketing director, if you have the resources to hire one, where 2 hours every Friday from 3 to 5, you're going to meet with your marketing director and you're going to focus on marketing. You're going to learn everything you possibly can. Yeah. And am I glossing over this? No. Learn digital marketing, learn how to do it in-house. I really, frankly, I don't like outsourcing a lot of stuff because I want to know exactly what's going on. When it comes to content, I would much rather handle that in-house than have someone else do it, because we can always write better content for our websites than anyone else can. The more hands-on you are with marketing, the better it's going to be. If you write one new article for your website every day for 45 consecutive days, your phone will be ringing off the hook. That is a promise. I can guarantee you that. Now, no one will actually do this, but if you did, your phone would be ringing off the hook. Content creation is everything. So if you write about topics that no one else is writing about. So for example, I had a case involving untreated atrial fibrillation. So I just wrote a little case blurb about what happened. And then my phone starts ringing and I do a Google search. And the only thing on the internet is about my article about untreated atrial fibrillation. So it turns out no one's writing about that and there's no content. If you write about cerebral palsy, you'd find a million articles on the web. But if you write about a niche part of cerebral palsy, athetoid cerebral palsy, or kernicterus, which is another form of neurological brain damage, you'd find there's not a lot on the internet about that, not a lot at all. So if you're writing about esoteric topics, you can get quick results. And I find that it really boils down to writing quality content that is 1,500 to 2,000 words. There's an article, Moshe, that I wrote, and I have no idea why this is, but it's the top performing webpage on our website, Protecting Patient Rights. It's how to tell the difference between a viral and a bacterial infection. I have no idea. I wrote it. I have no idea why people are interested in that, but it got about 16,000 views in the last 6 months. And I'm like, why do people care about this? But they do. And so when you share your knowledge with other people, they will pay you back in spades by calling you. And then it's just simply at that point, mastering the intake process. And I'm happy to share with you that process as well.
Yeah, I'd love to jump into that process in a moment, but I just want to share one of the things that you mentioned is bringing a marketing director in house, and you said if you have the financial wherewithal to do that. I stuck the word financial in there. I think that's what you intended. We have a guest that's going to be released in the next few weeks on the podcast. It's not actually out yet. The title is going to be "Grow Your Law Firm Through Intentional and Strategic In-House Marketing" with Cassidy Lewis. And I met Cassidy at Craig Goldenfarb's event in New York City, interestingly enough. And she is the marketing director for a law firm, I think in Virginia, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong about the location. But anyway, she shares about what kind of growth their firm had by bringing her in as a marketing director. And one of the comments that I want to make on what you're sharing, two comments actually. So one is, get really good at understanding what drives marketing, but you don't necessarily have to figure out the how-tos of the day-to-day. Like, how do I add all these keywords into this article in a way that it ranks for SEO? Have a marketing person on your team that gets really good at that stuff. Do that. Get really good at understanding what is something I should write about, and you get really good at writing an article and then having somebody go and edit it and publish it for you. I think is a really good strategy. The second piece to that is, when should I hire somebody, right? If we look at when to hire somebody based on whether we can afford it, that is what keeps us stuck. That's what keeps us from moving forward. The reality is you have to look at what is possible if I bring somebody like this onto my staff. Now, I'm not saying somebody who's by themselves, no support staff at all, should go hire a marketing director. But what I am saying is that if you have a established business where you have a certain amount of business coming in, you've already you hired a paralegal, you hired a receptionist, you hired another attorney, and you got to keep making that phone ring. One of the things that you should be looking at is going out on a limb and bringing somebody in who maybe you can't afford today, but if you see the big picture and realize that by putting them in place, your business is going to be 3, 4, 5 times the size 12 months later, that's a small price to pay to make that happen. And that's the way, as business owners, we need to think, is what is the potential that can happen if this person's in place, and what's the opportunity cost of me waiting? If I wait to bring this person on, what is that going to cost me? How many cases could I have had that I'm not going to have because I didn't have somebody that's their full-time job, is to go and figure this stuff out and go and do this for me. All right, so John, you said you wanted to share some processes with us. One of them was you mentioned intake. I'd love to know a couple of things. First of all, just technically, where do you house the processes? How do you keep this all in a place that's easy to find, that people on your staff can locate it, know what to do because it's already written somewhere? That's number one. And number two, you wanted to share a couple of processes with us. I'd like to give you the opportunity to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just share this with you. This is Fisherpedia right here, and it's super simple. Everything that we do here is contained on a website. This website, to create it, it's a WordPress website that costs $1,000 with no recurring fees. And basically, everything that we do here is is right here. So if you have questions about anything, for example, if you wanted to know how to schedule a deposition, everything's here. There's video tutorials, there's every aspect of this, our preferred list of videographers, stenographers, everything is right there at your fingertips. Our best legal forms. If you wanted, so there's a query box right here. If you wanted to do a conference call, all you do is you'd pencil. If you don't know how to do it, Moshe, if you came to my office right now and you said the judge wants a 5-way conference call, and I'm stepping foot into your office for the first time, well, no problem. Here's the procedure for doing it with our phone system, and there's a video right here that explains everything step by step. It's a 2-minute video, and so everything. If you wanted to say, how do we open the door, unlock the door, right? So everything that we have here, how to open the office, protect it. Um, Everything that we do is going to be you're opening and closing the receptionist window. If you say to me, John, I've never been to upstate New York in Kingston, although it's not that far from Rockland. So you might say, how do I get there? So you just put in the directions here. I'm going to send you a link to our office. And then what you'd see is with this website, you can have photos, you can have annotations here. So you can see we add annotations to each one. There's our office on the 3rd floor of this bank building. We have an arrow to the door and everything. So with annotations, I can send you this link. And when you come to our office in upstate Kingston, New York, you're going to know exactly where to go because we've made it super simple for you to do that. And this applies to everything that we do. Our firm's how to use Fisherpedia, our firm's values and mission, everything, the firm's culture, the best ways to succeed at our law firm, everything is right here. And so every core process that we have, every legal form, if you say, John, you asked me to draft a summons complaint for a birth injury case. I've never done that in my life. I say, no problem, Moshe. Here you go. You've got the link right there. And then within seconds, you've got a sample of a summons complaint in a birth asphyxia case that you can share with anyone that you want. So that's Fisherpedia. And that's what we use to basically document the core processes of our law firm. If anyone, Moshe, wanted the website people, all they'd have to do is email me and I would be, or share it with you either way. The other thing I want to share here is our process for intake. So whenever every single new case that we get, new client goes through what's called lead docket. And lead docket is very simple. You would add a lead. And what happens here when you go to add a lead is depending upon the type of case that you have, let's say it's a failure to diagnose heart attack. The questions that would be posed would all relate to that. So Moshe, if you were taking a new intake for our firm and you had no idea what questions to ask, but somebody said, look, we had a failure to diagnose a heart attack, all the questions are right here, not only on liability, but damages. And do they smoke, diabetes? And then so everything is super simple. As long as you fill out these boxes, you're going to have all the information that we need to evaluate the case. And then as part of lead docket, which is the software, there would be a follow-up system where the client is getting customized emails by video, welcoming them to our firm and describing the processes that we follow to evaluate their case. So every case that we have in lead docket is reviewed by a surgeon who reviews the cases for merit and will call me pretty much on a daily basis and say, John, this one we should look closely at. We should get the records. This one's not a case. And so it's just a great way of organizing every lead that you have in the firm. You can certainly managing this and do reports to indicate the number of leads that you're getting, who is sending you all of the leads that you have, everything. So you can track your leads by referral source and everything. So it's Lead Docket is just a phenomenal way of tracking new leads to your firm. And I think we pay, it's something like $150 per license per user. So it's actually very reasonable. Lead Docket is a phenomenal way of organizing new leads. And a website like Fisherpedia, which anyone could do, that is just a great way of documenting all the core processes. And Moshe, you might say, well, what if our team is not into core processes? Well, number one, there are certain people who just aren't into it. They don't want to document everything. They want to do it their way. They are not a good fit for a system-driven law firm. You want people who are fanatical about building systems for your law firm. Oh, John, today I just did 3 new systems about how to add annotations to a policy. Cool. I just did a new system about how to use eCam, Moshe. Wonderful. Build system after system. Because Moshe, when you say, oh, I've got a new assistant, they don't know how to use eCam, they don't know how to do the split screen. Well, you are going to document that system for them. You're going to use annotations, arrows, and circles, the whole thing. And then it's going to be super simple for someone to go in and start using it if you're not available to run the interview. So the idea behind this, and McDonald's started it, is sort of like, McDonald's, you put a burger on the grill or fries there, it's going to be on that grill for about 52 seconds or something like that, because they are fanatical about giving the same experience at one McDonald's that's in Rockland County, New York, as another McDonald's that's in Shanghai. They want it to be identical. And your law firm should run just like McDonald's, where your systems are so well documented that every step of what you do, every one member of your team is fanatical, not only about knowing your systems, but building new systems for you.
John, I love everything you just shared. I mean, it's mind blowing what you have there. I mean, the vast amount of information. It almost can be overwhelming to somebody to be like, wait a second, but I have nothing. And I imagine that this was not built overnight. It took you a lot of time, and it's continuing to build over time as things progress. New things come in. There's new processes being created all the time. So if somebody were to take your Fisherpedia and then they want to use it for their law firm, what does that look like? Do they get a core set of processes that they then need to go in and modify to their standards, or do they just get like the blank shell of the site and they need to start putting those processes in?
No, they could take all the policies I have and just copy them if they want, but it'd be better that they make their own policies, because every policy is going to be a little bit unique for their own law firm. So yeah, they can copy and paste and have my permission to do that. They can take the policies that are in my book, The Power of a System. All that is a book of all of our firm's policies. That's all it is. People are looking at it like, wait a minute, this book wasn't intended for me. You're right, it wasn't. It was intended for the members of my team, so they know what our policies are. And it covers everything: settlements, motions, liens, discovery, how to office rules, basic stuff, how to schedule a focus group, everything. Moshe, if I settle a case today, do you think that I'm trying to figure out what to say on the stipulation of settlement? No, because it's in my book, The Power of a System. I just open the book, I start reading it, and we're done. It's the same thing every single time. So why duplicate the process? If you have a recurring task that you're doing more than once, then it should be a system, and it's got to be documented, and it's got to be shared with your team. And then you should have a meeting, I would say once a week. We call it training day, where we go over a system and we say, are we doing this? Or is this just something we have on a website? Are you doing this? And what you'd find is a lot of times they're not. And then how can we improve the system? What can we do? Does this system suck, or are there ways of improving it? And then we'll go right into Fisherpedia, type up the new policy. We'll get buy-in, because when the team members are creating the policies, they have an investment in it. They're buying into your systems, and they know. And so, Moshe, if you come to me today and you say, John, we've got to schedule a deposition, I'll say, Moshe, do we have a policy for that? And you say, I don't know. Let me check Fisherpedia. We do. Then Moshe, check out that policy. If it's not clear, come back to me, and then we'll make it clear. But that's how we work. I have an open door policy. Anyone can come to see me when we have meetings every single day during the week at 9:15. We call it a daily huddle. And the reason for that, Moshe, is because I think that I want us to be aligned around common goals, what we're all doing. If we have a trial on Monday, I don't want people focusing on other things. So there's alignment around common goals, and there's accessibility, because I don't want our team to say, John, you're never available to us. No, I am available, because every single day we meet at the daily huddle. And Moshe, we start by saying, what's your positive focus for today? What are you grateful for in your life? And if you say to me, John, I've got nothing that I'm grateful for, I say, okay, you might not be a good fit for our law firm. So if somebody is not grateful for something personally or professionally in their life, they are not a good fit for our law firm, because life is too short to be around negative people, really. And so that's what we do. And really, no one can say to me, John, you're just not accessible, because I am every single day. And if they have a question, they can come into my office. They know I'm going to ask them, do we have a policy for that? One other thing I can share with you that we do, we have a woman in Iowa who is our client care advocate. Her sole responsibility is to call our existing clients and say hello, how you doing, on their birthdays. I call clients on their birthdays, every one of them. I wish them a happy birthday. Our client care advocate just regularly stays in touch. Have you had any recent medical treatment? Do you need a conversation with John? Anything like that? These little touches go a long way. A client care advocate that you pay on a part-time hourly basis is one of the best investments you'll ever make.
I love that. I love that role, and handing off the responsibility of somebody to stay on top of making sure that the communication piece is happening, because it's so easy to get busy in the day to day and then forget to reach out to this one, reach out to that one, and touch base with them. It becomes the thing that we push it off. Okay, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. And all of a sudden, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Somebody hasn't heard from us. They don't know what's going on. So handing that off to somebody, especially the right personality, wonderful, wonderful delegation role right there that you've done. And I know you like to keep things in-house, but if somebody can't afford to bring in somebody full-time to, say, answer the phones, there's a lot of good options out there to delegate the first line of defense, having your phone answered all the time. We partner with Smith AI. You can go to profitwithlaw.com/Smith AI to check it out, where a lot of law firms are using this service, and it's more than just answering the phone. Even if you had a receptionist, your receptionist goes to the bathroom, they take a sick day, they're on vacation. There's a ton of times where the phone just might not be answered. At least now you have something in place to get that phone answered. But it goes back to the systems that you have, right? Like, if you don't have a system of what you want to have happen when the phone gets answered, it's very hard to delegate that to an outside company who knows nothing about your law firm. And that's where the power of systems really shines, is in all these different scenarios where you have an opportunity to hand something off to make your firm better. And the only way to do that is by being able to hand it off, which requires the systems. So it's kind of like this catch-22, where you need the delegation in order to get the bandwidth, but you need to create the systems in order to do the delegation. So you kind of need to figure out how to start implementing those systems right away.
Well, we delegate an awful lot. So on lien resolution, we don't do any of it. It's outsourced to a company in Buffalo, New York, that does a phenomenal job. It's run by lawyers. And so everything to do with lien resolution, we're not involved in. With medical record retrieval, we're not involved in that at all. We outsource that to a company in Utah called Chart Squad. They do all of it for us. So they get all of the medical records for us. They're automatically integrated into our case management software, which is called Smart Advocate. And lien resolution, for a relatively nominal fee, all of that is handled by a company in Buffalo, Precision Resolution. They do all of that. And so really a lot of the processes that we have in our law firm can be done better by other people. So we just outsource all of it. And it just makes sense to do it that way. And so that goes back to what we discussed earlier, is delegate doesn't mean only just delegating within your law firm. It means delegating to others outside your law firm who do things better in things that you do. and that you may not like doing. I don't like lien resolution, so why would I want to do that? I hire other people to do it. I don't like probate work in wrongful death cases, so I hire outside people to do that for us. I just think it makes a lot of sense to focus on the things that you are uniquely skilled in doing. We call it the unique ability. If that's your unique ability to do certain things, that's where you should be spending 80 to 90% of your time. Most people spend about 5 to 10% of their time on their unique ability, and that's a damn shame.
Yeah, I love that, and you might notice that I've sat down in a chair here. I don't know if you know this, John, but I broke my foot just a couple of weeks ago, and I had surgery. I got 20
Oh,
screws put into my foot.
I'm sorry. I hope you're
So
well.
I've been standing on one foot this entire interview.
Oh
I just
man.
just sat down in a chair. Maybe throws my camera quality off a little bit, but got to do what you got to do. So we mentioned at the beginning of this interview, we're going to wrap it up now. We mentioned at the beginning of the interview that we're going to offer a live Q&A session for our readers of your book in our book club. So we're going to end this broadcast here and just go live into our Facebook group, the Reader's Nook, Book Club for Lawyers. If you're not a member there and you want to join us for that Q&A and come and ask John a question, just go to profitwithlaw.com/book club and you can submit that request. My team is standing by to approve you, let you into the group so you don't miss anything. John, stay with me for a moment as we switch over there. But folks, if you enjoyed watching this, you enjoyed the conversation, one of the things John mentioned is investing in yourself. And what we offer here at Profit with Law is we offer you an opportunity to get a free coaching session where we'll help you figure out where your blind spots are. We'll help you figure out why you might be struggling or where you might need to focus to be able to achieve the next level of success. If you want to take us up on that, go to profitwithlaw.com/free coaching, profitwithlaw.com/free coaching. We'd love to have you take advantage of that and to have a conversation with one of our coaches and see if they can help you with that. Now, at the end, you may be offered an opportunity to join our Elite Lawyers program. It's absolutely no obligation. The coaching session is legitimately a coaching session. It's not a veiled sales call, we do give you that opportunity at the end, but we want to help you first and foremost, kind of like John writing his book. We're really out there to try and just further the profitability of law firms and the growth of law firms. And all the URLs that John shared during the interview, the Fisherpedia, the Mastermind Experience, all of those links are posted in the comments below this video. And also, if you're listening to the podcast, they're in our show notes page, which you should be able to see right below the episode in your podcast player, but they'll also be located at profitwithlaw.com. So we'd love you to just head over there, click those links, check out John's Mastermind Experience, go buy his books, and maybe even invest in that one-time expense of bringing in that WordPress website, which I really love the look and feel of that. And you can customize it to your firm and start building your own book of processes that's easy to navigate, easy to find, and can really help you fuel the growth of your firm to that next level. Have you been enjoying the show? We sure hope so. To make sure you never miss an episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button in your podcast player app. Next week, we will be back with more valuable resources and ideas on how to break the mold and take your law firm to the next level.